This isn't your typical celebrity headline, so ladies and gentlemen, get ready. This is the type of story that causes everyone on the internet to shout and halt mid-scroll. Hold on, what? We are discussing King Harris. Indeed, the son of hip-hop legends T and Tiny, whose name is blatantly displayed in every group chat, medical discussion, and gossip feed on the planet. A national crisis has grown out of what was supposed to be a routine procedure. Fans are questioning how a private procedure became a public disaster. Physicians are exchanging lab coats for handcuffs, and the FBI is swarming hospital hallways. How does a straightforward brain surgery turn into a federal inquiry? How do reputable experts go from cleaning to getting pulled out by agents? And as the rest of the world puts the pieces together, why is the self-described Atlanta dynasty, the Harris family, now more silent than ever? To be clear, this is not a medical mistake. It's a complete cover-up, a PR disaster, and perhaps the most significant wake-up call the Harris empire has ever experienced. Stay focused, because what comes next could completely change your perception of power, celebrity, and the cost of remaining silent. The tea is boiling over, and this is the gossip spill vibe. Even when King Harris wasn't trying to make headlines, he was always loud enough. From the cheeky child on his parents' reality program to the young guy who enjoyed stirring things up on live streams, the world watched him develop. Additionally, the internet struggled for a long time to decide whether to hit replay or roll its eyes. However, the focus isn't on a club brawl or a viral tirade this time. It's about whispers that became sirens, a hospital room, and tight doors. What began as a low-key medical procedure to treat months of debilitating headaches has exploded into a story that transcends time. Fans were bombarding comments by dawn. Bloggers were speculating, and the term complication was already being leaked by someone inside the hospital. No one was aware of the true depth of that word. According to sources, the procedure started at midnight in a private Atlanta clinic where famous people go to recover in secret. It was said that Tiny and T.I. wanted everything to be kept quiet. No strangers, no paparazzi, no press. However, when human mistake enters the picture, safety cannot be purchased with money or non-disclosure agreements. King's vitals fell heavily somewhere between the incision and the ceiling sutures. Like a man watching his career vaporize in real time, the surgeon yelled commands, the nurses froze, and the monitors screamed. By 3 a.m, the hallways were in disarray. 2 anesthesiologists were disputing about dose, according to staff members. Another said a crucial piece of equipment broke down. Everything that might go wrong happened in those panicked minutes. Nevertheless, the first inclination was silence rather than openness. Control had long been associated with the Harris name. Manage the picture. Take charge of the story. Limit the harm. The damage, however, had a pulse this time. Hospital management began erasing digital logs for maintenance as soon as morning arrived. One technician saw that timestamps were missing, signatures were changed, and entire blocks of data had been erased from the system. Then rumors of a cover-up started to circulate, and evidence that someone attempted to conceal it is what the internet likes more than rumors. Fans, meanwhile, awoke to a distinct quiet. King, who frequently posted flex videos and live rants on social media, hadn't posted within a few days. His final tale, a vintage film with the tagline "Big Moves Coming," appeared to be a farewell. Tiny shared an old picture along with a verse from the Bible. Ty uttered a comment about having trust instead of fear. Hospitals, surgeries, and the reason TMZ vans were sitting outside Atlanta Medical were all left out. The only indication people needed was that vacuum. The hashtag #PrayForIt became popular throughout the world by the afternoon, but kindness soon gave way to mistrust. Internet detectives discovered that the family's public relations team was removing comments more quickly than they could be seen. Why conceal the truth if everything is good? An admirer tweeted. That tweet gained 300K likes and took on a life of its own in a matter of hours. The quiet turned into a tale, and the tale turned into a conflagration. Chaos brewed behind those glass doors. A senior surgeon allegedly tried to update medical records to make the time frame more clear, but the change raised an automatic audit warning, according to later reports from insiders. Administrators called in attorneys rather than investigators after realizing what had occurred. A poor decision. Authorities were alerted by someone inside who was tired of the deceit. Unmarked vehicles were parked outside the hospital by the following morning. Agents entered silently and departed carrying file boxes. At that point, headlines began to use the 3 letters that make every publicist perspire. To the public, FBI sounded ridiculous. Why would one botched surgery matter to federal agents? It had nothing to do with stitching, however. It was about paperwork, fraud, and almost criminal-level incompetence. Because the hospital gets government research funds, which makes falsifying medical documents a criminal violation, the FBI reportedly intervened. This was no longer a family tragedy all of a sudden. The case was federal in nature. The streets performed their duties while the federal government did its. Bloggers started establishing a connection between the Harris family's business partners and the hospital's investors. Screenshots, half-truths, and purported insider communications were all over Reddit threads. It didn't matter if the statement in one widely shared tweet was genuine or not. They tried to erase the surgery logs. That's why the FBI came. Fact had already been supplanted by perception. With an inspirational live stream, T attempted to outshine the crowd. He discussed fate, resiliency, and maintaining a close-knit social circle. However, the words were not being heard by the audience. They watched his eyes for any indication. Out of terror. Each blink was examined. T looks nervous talking about King garnered millions of views in hours, and during that time, Big Nana, the Harris matriarch, reportedly lost her patience. According to family friends, she was upset that lawyers were in charge while her grandson was unconscious, saying, "You can't hide God's truth," before threatening to go live and tell the world herself. The thought of Big Nana and censored was enough to make any public relations manager in Atlanta choke on their coffee. Meanwhile, doctors at the center of the chaos started to panic. Two quietly resigned and another attempted to leave the scene. The irony was painful. A family built on reality TV fame now stuck in a real-life nightmare. Every network wanted a statement, every journalist wanted a soundbite, but the only sound coming from the Harris camp was the hum of damage control. By the time the FBI reached the end of its first round of questioning, 3 doctors had been arrested for obstruction of a federal investigation. In the midst of all the chaos, King remained silent. Frustrated and heartbroken, fans started to construct their own narratives, with some claiming he had been put in a medically induced coma, and others swearing he was awake but unable to speak. TikTok conspiracies filled the void, with videos comparing old clips of King's speech patterns, claiming they were early signs something was wrong. It didn't matter whether any of it was true. What mattered was that it felt true. By the end of the week, reporters were camped out outside the hospital gates. Police had to set up barricades to keep the crowd of influencers, bloggers, and curious fans from live streaming from the sidewalk under control, and news drones hovered above the building like mechanical vultures. Everyone wanted the same thing: the image, the footage, the confirmation. Inside, the investigation grew. Agents demanded full digital backups, and they spoke with nurses, anesthesiologists, and security personnel. One nurse reportedly broke down in tears, telling investigators, "We were told not to speak." Another asserted that the public's response was fast. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds, with half accusing the Harris family of buying silence and the other half defending them. Headlines screamed words like cover-up, arrests, and feds raid Atlanta hospital. YouTube channels went into overdrive, each promising exclusive details no one else had. For the first time, the once bulletproof Harris brand looked fragile. The hospital's equipment had been malfunctioning for months, but management refused repairs because VIP patients can't be delayed. A leaked recording of a muffled phone conversation between 2 voices, allegedly senior hospital staff, discussing how to handle the Harris file before the feds find it surfaced online just as the chaos seemed to be coming to an end. The leak was the tipping point. King Harris was the victim of something far bigger than a medical error, and it went viral within minutes, racking up 1 million plays before anyone verified it. Streaming platforms covertly delayed their family-centered projects, and every click of the refresh button brought a new headline more dramatic than the last. A headline more dramatic than the last. The internet no longer wanted answers. It wanted justice. Hashtags became movements, petitions became popular, and memes made fun of the family's silence. The FBI declined to comment, the hospital asserted confidentiality, and the Harris public relations team repeatedly said, "Please respect our privacy during this difficult time." However, in the world of gossip, privacy is just another word for hiding something. The more they pleaded for space, the more hungry the world got. And that hunger was about to be satisfied because what followed wasn't just shocking. It was the end of a career. The internet no longer wanted rumors. It wanted blood, and when the internet wants blood, someone always bleeds. A brand new account on X appeared the day after the audio leak, claiming to be a nurse who worked the night of King Harris's surgery. It had no name or profile picture, just the username Night Shift Witness. There was only one line in the post, and I could see all they were One sentence was reposted tens of thousands of times in a matter of minutes. Anonymous direct messages flooded gossip blogs, and exclusive documents started to circulate. They included blurry photos of what appeared to be medical charts stamped with King's name, showing timelines that did not match the official hospital report. One sheet listed an anesthesia dosage 3 times higher than standard for his age and weight, and another mentioned an unauthorized consult performed after complications began. It didn't matter if these documents were authentic or not. They fit the story. Every YouTube gossip channel was releasing special updates at the end of the day, with headlines screaming, "The FBI confirms arrests and King Harris left in a coma." One thing emerged from the chaos. Ty and Tiny had built an empire on visibility through reality shows, interviews, and podcasts. They made their lives a brand, and when that brand went quiet, it became suspicious. Fans started reposting clips of Tiny's most recent live stream, in which she smiled while answering questions and abruptly ended the feed when someone asked a question. Entered King Update. Her expression in those last 2 seconds was replayed across TikTok like the Zapruder film. Slow motion, zoomed in, analyzed frame by frame. Then came the second leak. A voice note sent to a blogger allegedly from one of the detained doctors. The voice, low and trembling, said, "They told us to proceed." They insisted despite our warnings that he wasn't stable. Too much emphasis was on it to be flawless. A door opening and the words, "I can't talk anymore," were heard as the video came to a close. It was a feeding frenzy now, with every channel vying for exclusive access. Page 6 and Rolling Stone issued official requests for comment, while TMZ chased the family SUV down Atlanta highways. The family's lawyers allegedly began threatening cease and desist letters, but even those made headlines. The Harris family tries to silence witnesses. Meanwhile, justice for King made it to the top of the global charts. Then, as if the universe wanted to further twist the knife, the FBI released a brief public statement confirming an ongoing investigation involving possible medical malpractice and obstruction. They didn't name the hospital or the patient, but everyone already knew. Fans went crazy, and conspiracy theorists started people were piecing together the timeline like detectives, claiming that the rush surgery was caused by the Harris family's insistence on privacy. Others suggested bribery, suggesting that the family attempted to expedite the procedure before King's medical records were made public. And one viral TikTok linked King's condition to an experimental technique the hospital was testing with government funding, claiming that the cover-up was not about negligence, but rather a botched medical trial. The public turned against the family overnight, calling T a hypocrite in old clips where he boasted about protecting his children at all costs. Then came the third shocking video. A 30-second clip appeared online that seemed to show hospital staff rushing through a dimly lit hallway shouting medical terms, with a male voice, possibly the head surgeon, yelling, "We're losing him." Tiny's cosmetics line suffered, and her latest launch saw its sales plummet after commenters bombarded the brand's page with questions about King. Industry rumors claimed networks were re-evaluating their partnerships because of the videos, which were now used as ammunition, captioned with "Guess not." Off camera, someone said, "Get the oxygen." And the video cut off abruptly. The quality was grainy, the lighting terrible, but the impact catastrophic. No one could confirm if it was real, but it didn't matter. It felt authentic enough to break the internet. Every reaction channel replayed it on loop. Every thumbnail exaggerated the still frame of a body on a stretcher blurred just enough to avoid legal trouble. Overnight, millions believed they'd seen proof that King Harris had died. That's when the Harris family finally blinked. T.I. released a statement through a publicist reading, "Our family is enduring a private medical situation, and during this time, we ask for your respect. As we continue to put our faith in God during this process, we are grateful to everyone who has prayed for King's recovery." Within 24 hours, the FBI reportedly detained 2 more medical staff members. It didn't work. The statement was too late, too polished, and too detached. Commoners tore it apart line by line. "If he's recovering, show us proof." Why use the word situation instead of surgery? Trust God or trust your PR team. In the world of celebrity crisis management, vague equals guilty. The charges were interference with a federal investigation, tampering with equipment logs, deleting security footage, doctors destroying footage, screaming headlines, and every news cycle brought new villains. Then, as the world came to terms with the fact that a new story was emerging from within the investigation itself, a gossip blog quoted an insider who claimed that the family had pushed for the surgery even though they were warned that rest and medication might have resolved King's condition. Why the rush? They didn't want to postpone King's scheduled appearance for a brand campaign that reportedly paid 7 figures. If that's the case, the entire tragedy could have been avoided. The optics were brutal, a young man forced into a hospital bed by fame. As those accusations spread, Big Nana returned to the spotlight, and a blurry video of her shouting at paparazzi outside the family home appeared. One line was very clear: "Don't rush that boy. They didn't listen to me. It wasn't just talking." She was blowing up the PR wall brick by brick. King's condition remained unclear, with some claiming he was brain dead and others claiming he was in a medically induced coma. A phony photo of a hospital bed went viral before being disproved, but by then it didn't matter. People already believed it. Fans immediately rallied behind her, and she became the story's moral compass overnight. The grieving grandmother demanded justice while the rest of the family hid behind press releases. The FBI remained silent, building its case methodically, while insiders claimed the Bureau had discovered internal communications between hospital executives discussing reputation management. If true, that meant deliberate concealment, a crime far more serious than malpractice. One person swore they saw King on life support, while another claimed he moved his hand today. It was impossible to know what was real, and that was exactly the problem. The Harris family was losing control of their narrative faster than their lawyers could send take-home notices. Suddenly, not only doctors were at risk of arrest, but executives, investors, and possibly even anyone who had approved the procedure. And just as those rumors began to circulate, another leak surfaced. A now-deleted post from a verified journalist claimed that one of the doctors in custody had admitted to fabricating data under pressure from outside sources. The source did not specifically name the family, but claimed that the pressure came from wealthy and well-known clients. The implication was devastating, and within an hour, every gossip page was repeating the same question: did the Harris family coerce doctors into performing a risky procedure? The court of public opinion had already made its decision. The investigation is no longer about a botched surgery. It's about the collision of ego, negligence, and a system built on privilege. The next revelation would determine whether the Harris dynasty could survive, or if this was the scandal that finally shattered it for good. Because the more the FBI digs, the clearer it becomes. This story isn't over. It's only getting darker. The story wasn't dying down. It was mutating. King Harris was no longer just a victim. He was now a symbol of fame, control, and silence. The King Harris case had gone from gossip to obsession by the second week, with morning talk shows analyzing it like forensic experts and evening pundits treating it as a morality play about privilege and fame. Amidst all of this, one image dominated social media: the Harris family mansion surrounded by flashing lights as federal vehicles rolled up the driveway. The FBI was there for evidence, not for show. And according to insider leaks, they had obtained warrants to seize phones, hard drives, and any documents pertaining to the hospital's partnership contracts with the hospital. These same contracts apparently included non-disclosure clauses that directly linked to the Harris name. Translation: the family may have had a legal hand in silencing staff. Perception hardened like concrete, whether that is true or not. Every gossip page screamed variations of the same headline: Harris Empire under federal probe. The mighty were officially under the microscope, while fans conducted their own investigation in real time. Twitter threads resembled digital crime boards, complete with red arrows, screenshots, timelines, and grainy screenshots of court filings that might or might not have been authentic. One user claimed to have discovered evidence that a Harris-affiliated company donated millions to the hospital foundation months prior to the operation. The post went viral because they gave the audience what it wanted: the appearance of truth in a sea of secrecy. As if that weren't enough, a new figure emerged: a purported whistleblower known only as Agent Q. They started posting cryptic messages that said things like, "They're not telling you what they found in the lab freezer." Another claimed that T.I. himself signed confidentiality forms that contradicted his public statement about not interfering with the process. Conspiracy channels quickly transformed those words into full-fledged exposés, after each post concluded with the hashtag Operation Silent. For example, the thumbnail titles of the messages read, "FBI finds DNA cover-up in King Harris case and medical mafia linked to celebrity family." The internet had declared war, and the battlefield was belief. Panic swept through the Harris circle, and lawyers were dividing into teams: one to handle the hospital, one to deal with federal investigators, and one to try desperately to keep Big Nana from going live. Family sources whispered that Tiny had withdrawn into isolation, while while T.I. had flown to Washington, D.C. to consult with legal advisors. Their social media accounts turned into ghost towns, and even longtime friends unfollowed to avoid the fallout. A press conference followed, and for the first time in 2 weeks, the family appeared before the cameras. "Our son is still fighting," T said, his voice shaking in a way the public had never heard, as he walked to the platform with a little by his side and a clenched jaw. "We are cooperating fully with investigators," he said. "Stop disseminating false information, please. Humanizing should have been the goal. It ought to have succeeded." But when he said lies, the internet collectively scoffed, because by then it wasn't about lies versus truth. It was about emotion versus control. Clips of the speech were remixed into TikToks with ominous music. Edits zoomed in on Tiny's watery eyes, captioned, "She knows something." The Harrises were no longer willing to. The hospital CEO was arrested, and the official statement confirmed what everyone suspected, that someone at the top had ordered files erased after a high-profile medical incident. Reporters didn't need names. The implication was enough. That same night, breaking news shattered whatever Cal remained. The CEO was shown being led away in handcuffs, and the footage played side by side with pictures of King from his childhood days on reality shows. The contrast was devastating and cinematic, and the story abruptly flipped. People wanted a villain, and now they had one. However, the relief was short-lived because a sealed court document leaked 24 hours later, and this time the fingerprints pointed back to the Harris empire. The file labeled Exhibit C allegedly detailed a private payment of $2.5 million from a Harris-owned LLC to the same hospital just weeks before King's operation. The memo line Charity Support Fund. "They nearly killed that boy," read one viral tweet. Suggested hush money. The story locked. Comment sections went crazy. They paid for silence. This wasn't carelessness. It was a sham. Hashtags spread more quickly than PR teenagers could respond. The city of Atlanta was in shock. Even rival rappers shared their thoughts, with one posting, "Protect your kids, not yet image." Millions of people liked this barely disguised insult. A reporter from a major network tweeted that agents were reviewing messages between family representatives and hospital administrators, and the internet immediately filled in the blanks with imagined transcripts. Meanwhile, the investigation continued to deepen, and FBI officials confirmed that new arrests were still pending. King's actual condition remained a mystery throughout this time, with some claiming he had regained consciousness and others swearing he hadn't. However, what broke hearts was a brief blurry clip that surfaced from inside a hospital corridor. While someone pleaded, "Stay strong, baby boy," it displayed a figure on a bed connected to machinery. The clip ended there, real or staged. It reignited the world's empathy. For a moment, people stopped dissecting and started feeling. Then Big Nana pressed go live. The notification hit phones everywhere. Big Nana live. Tens of thousands tuned in within seconds. She appeared with no makeup, eyes swollen from crying. "They told me not to talk." With a shaky voice, she said, "But you all deserve to know the truth." That one stream did what weeks of reporting couldn't. It broke the internet. Clips flooded every platform. The hashtag Big Nana told it hit #1. She went on to spill details the family had carefully kept hidden, including King's coma, the FBI visits, and the arguments inside the house. At one point, she held up a document and shook it toward the camera. "They tried to make me sign this. Silence for money." Even longtime allies publicly distanced themselves, but ordinary fans hailed Big Nana as a hero for saving the truth. One tweet read, "Even if it cost her everything." Within hours, mainstream media confirmed the veracity of her account, and public relations experts referred to it as the most unfiltered confession in celebrity history. The fallout was devastating. The FBI surged in the aftermath. The internet reportedly breathed for the first time in weeks as news broke that King had finally been moved out of critical care. There were no official statements or photos, just a reporter citing family sources. Grand jury subpoenas were reportedly issued targeting executives, surgeons, and associates connected to the Harris family. The wording was careful, but the implication was devastating. The empire that once seemed untouchable now looked like a Jenga tower swaying in slow motion. In the final days of the first phase of the investigation, agents released a summary stating that criminal negligence and evidence tampering are being pursued. Translation: indictments incoming. The family's lawyers insisted on innocence, but the world had already made up its mind. By the time the sun rose, a new question echoed across all platforms. What happens now? Because even if King recovered, the Harris name would never mean the same. The brand, which was built to reveal fear and secrecy. Shad and Freya mixed with pity in the comment sections. One user said they wanted reality TV. This is the truth. This ain't entertainment, another person said. Karma is to blame, and we are at that point. A family broke up, a son who is struggling to survive, and an industry was reminded that forgiveness is not something that celebrity can buy. Although the FBI's complete report has not yet been released, leaks point to further names, more lies, and possibly even a covert reason for the surgery. The story ends there, ladies and gentlemen. King Harris remains silent, the FBI keeps its files sealed, and the Harris family's empire hangs in limbo. What began as a simple surgery has now changed the rules on fame, silence, and how quickly the internet can turn sympathy into suspicion. If the rumors are accurate, King's operation wasn't an accident. Rather, it was a calculated risk gone wrong, a PR gamble that exploded in the public eye. What do you think, though? Did the Harris family try to shield their son or their brand? Did the hospital conceal a deadly error? Or did power buy immunity one last time? One thing is for sure, this story isn't over yet. The next headline is already being written somewhere behind those closed doors, and you know exactly where it will land first. Backhand index pointing, right? Because this is Gossip Spill Vibe, the place where every scandal that they vowed you wouldn't hear takes place. Please share your thoughts below. This place. Please share your thoughts below. Whose version are you purchasing, Harris, Big Nana, or Truth? Don't simply scroll. Leave a comment with your theory because this tea is too hot to drink on your own. If you think today's disclosures were crazy, wait till we reveal what we're going to reveal next. Click the bell, subscribe, and join the drama-loving family that never sleeps.